Hello all, and thank you for returning to Tangents on Cracked Spines with your host, Frankie. Today there will not be any interruptions from our lovely Mama Cat, as she is currently in the hospital. But I have this podcast playing on a loop for her, as this is why I started the podcast to begin with. Well, not this exact situation, but because she likes listening to me read and go off on tangents. But there will still be interruptions from the lovely kitterins around the house. Those on YouTube, please excuse the lack of visuals. I'm not in the mood. Anyways, if you are new, welcome. You might want to go back 11 episodes to start this from the beginning as we continue on with reading Dracula. Because that's what we do here. We read books in the public domain, and I go off on rabbit trails. That being said, listener discretion is advised, because just because a book is old does not make it appropriate for all listeners. There tends to be lots of violence and uncouth things. So, again, listener discretion is advised, especially if you are under the age of 13. I do not know why I'm yawning so much today. Apparently the stress is getting to me. Anyways, let's begin! Where did we leave off? Well, Mina got a letter from Jonathan and excitedly ran off to meet him. He can't remember anything that happened in hotel. in Castle Dracula. Probably for the best. He is in a hospital in Budapest, and they got married! Woo! They had to go find somebody that wasn't Catholic to marry them. Yeah, okay. I did end with Lucy. We are starting with Dr. Seward's diary. Okay, so we did start. 20th August. The case of Renfield grows even more interesting. He is now so far quieted that there are spells of cessation from his passion. For the first week after his attack, he was perpetually violent. Then, one night, just as the moon rose, he grew quiet and kept murmuring to himself, "Now I can wait. Now I can wait." The attendant came to tell me, so I ran down at once to have a look at him. He was still in the strait waistcoat and in the padded room, but the suffused look had gone from his face, and his eyes had something of their old pleading, I might almost say cringing softness. I was satisfied with his present condition and directed him to be relieved. The attendants hesitated, but finally carried out my wishes without protest. It was a strange thing that the patient had humor enough to see their distrust, for, coming close to me, he said in a whisper, all the while looking furtively at them, "They think I could hurt you. Fancy me hurting you, the fools." It was soothing somehow to the feelings to find myself disassociated even in the mind of this poor madman from the others. But all the same, I do not follow his thought. Am I to take it that I have anything in common with him, so that we are, as it were, to stand together? Or is he to gain from me something good, so stupendous that my well-being is needed to him? I must find out later on. Tonight he will not speak. Even the offer of a kitten, or even a full-grown cat, will not tempt him. He will only say, I don't take any stock in cats. I have more to think of now, and I can wait. I can wait. After a while, I left him. The attendant tells me that he was quiet until just before dawn, and that then he began to get uneasy, and at length violent, until at last he fell into a paroxysm which exhausted him so that he swooned into a sort of coma. 3 nights has the same thing happened. Violent all day, and then quiet from moonrise to sunrise. I wish I could get some clue to the cause. It would almost seem as if there was some influence which came and went. Happy thought! We shall tonight play sane wits against mad ones. He escaped before without our help. Tonight he shall escape with it. We shall give him a chance, and have the men ready to follow in case they are required. Yes, let the madman run free. That makes perfect sense. 23rd August. The unexpected always happens. How well Disraeli knew life. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. Our bird, when he found the cage open, would not fly, so all our subtle arrangements were for naught. At any rate, we have proved one thing, that the spells of quietness last a reasonable time. We shall, in future, be able to ease his bonds for a few hours each day. I have given orders to the night attendant merely to shut him in the padded room, when once he is quiet, until an hour before sunrise. The poor soul's body will enjoy the relief, even if his mind cannot appreciate it. The unexpected again. I am called. The patient has once more escaped. Later, another night adventure. Renfield artfully waited until the attendant was entering the room to inspect. Then he dashed out past him and flew down the passage. I sent word for the attendants to follow. Again he went into the grounds of the deserted house, and we found him in the same place, pressed against the old chapel door. When he saw me, he became furious, and had not the attendants seized him in time, he would have tried to kill me. As we were holding him, a strange thing happened. He suddenly redoubled his efforts, and then he suddenly grew calm. I looked round instinctively, but could see nothing. Then I caught the patient's eye and followed it, but could trace nothing as it looked into the moonlit sky except a big bat, which was flapping its silent and ghostly way to the west. Bats usually wheel and flit about, but this one seemed to go straight on, as if it knew where it was bound for, or had some intention of its own. The patient grew calmer every instant, and presently said, "You needn't tie me. I shall go quietly." Without trouble, we came back to the house. I feel there is something ominous in his calm, and shall not forget this night. Lucy Westenra's Diary. Hillingham, 24th August. I must imitate Mina and keep writing things down. Then we can have long talks when we do meet. I wonder when it will be. I wish she were with me again, for I feel so unhappy. Last night I seemed to be dreaming again, just as I was at Whitby. Perhaps it is the change of air, or getting home again. It is all dark and horrid to me, for I can remember nothing, but I am full of vague fear, and I feel so weak and worn out. When Arthur came to lunch, he looked quite grieved when he saw me, and I hadn't the spirit to try to be cheerful. I wonder if I could sleep in Mother's room tonight. I shall make an excuse and try. 25th of August. Another bad night. Mother did not seem to take to my proposal. She seems not too well herself, and doubtless she fears to worry me. I tried to keep awake, and succeeded for a while, but when the clock struck 12, it waked me from a doze, so I must have been falling asleep. There was a sort of scratching or flapping at the window, but I did not mind it, and as I remember no more, I suppose I must have fallen asleep. More bad dreams. I wish I could remember them. This morning I am horribly weak. My face is ghastly pale, and my throat pains me. It must be something wrong with my lungs, for I don't seem ever to get air enough. I shall try to cheer up when Arthur comes, or else I know he will be miserable to see me. Letter from Arthur Holmwood to Dr. Seward. Albemarle Hotel, 31st August. My dear Jack, I want you to do me a favor. Lucy is ill. That is, she has no special disease, but she looks awful and is getting worse every day. I have asked her if there is any cause. I do not dare to ask her mother, for to disturb the poor lady's mind about her daughter in the present state of health would be fatal. Mrs. Westenra has confided to me that her doom is spoken, disease of the heart, though poor Lucy does not know it yet. I am sure that there is something preying on my dear girl's mind. I am almost distracted when I think of her. To look at her gives me a pang. I told her I should ask you to see her, and though she demurred at first, I know why, old fellow, she finally consented. It will be a painful task for you, I know, old friend, but it is for her sake, and I must not hesitate to ask, or you to act. You are to come to lunch at Hillingham tomorrow, 2 o'clock, so as not to arouse any suspicion in Mrs. Westenra, and after lunch Lucy will take an opportunity of being alone with you. I shall come in for tea, and we shall go away together. I am filled with anxiety, and want to consult with you alone as soon as I can after you see her. Do not fail. Arthur. Telegram. Arthur Holmwood to Dr. Seward. 1st September. Am summoned to see my father, who is worse. Am writing. Write me fully by tonight's post to ring. Wire me if necessary. Letter from Dr. Seward to Arthur Holmwood. My dear fellow. 2nd of September, by the way. With regard to Miss Westenra's health, I hasten to let you know at once that in my opinion there is not any functional disturbance or any malady that I know of. At the same time, I am not by any means satisfied with her appearance. Well, yeah, you work in a psychiatric ward. Did psychiatric doctors also do proper medical at that time? As she is woefully different from what she was when I saw her last. Of course, you must bear in mind that I did not have full opportunity of examination, such as I should wish. Our very friendship makes a little difficulty which not even medical science or custom can bridge over. I had better tell you exactly what happened, leaving you to draw in a measure your own conclusions. I shall then say what I have done and propose doing. I found Miss Westenra in seemingly gay spirits. Her mother was present, and in a few seconds I made up my mind that she was trying all she knew to mislead her mother and prevent her from being anxious. I have no doubt she guesses, if she does not know, what need of caution there is. We lunched alone, and as we all exerted ourselves to be cheerful, we got, as some kind of reward from our labors, some real cheerfulness amongst us. Then Mrs. Westenra went to lie down, and Lucy was left with me. We went into her boudoir, and till we got there her gaiety remained, for the servants were coming and going. As soon as the door was closed, however, the mask fell from her face, and she sank down into a chair with a great sigh, and hid her eyes with her hand. When I saw that her high spirits had failed, I at once took advantage of her reaction to make a diagnosis. She said to me very sweetly, "I cannot tell you how I loathe talking about myself." I reminded her that a doctor's confidence was sacred, but that you were grievously anxious about her. She caught on to my meaning at once, and settled that matter in a word. "Tell Arthur everything you choose. I do not care for myself, but all for him." So I am quite free. I could easily see that she is somewhat bloodless, but I could not see the usual anemic signs. And by chance I was actually able to test the quality of her blood. For, in opening a window which was stiff, a cord gave way, and she cut her hand slightly with broken glass. It was a slight matter in itself, but it gave me an evident chance, and I secured a few drops of the blood and have analyzed them. The qualitative analysis gives me quite normal condition, and shows, I should infer, in itself a vigorous state of health. In other physical matters, I was quite satisfied that there is no need for anxiety, but as there must be a cause somewhere, I have come to the conclusion that it must be something mental. What's that saying? If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail? She complains of difficulty in breathing satisfactorily at times, and of heavy lethargic sleep with dreams that frighten her, but regarding which she can remember nothing. She says that as a child she used to walk in her sleep, and that when in Whitby the habit came back, and that once she walked out in the night and went to East Cliff, where Miss Murray found her. But she assures me that of late the habit has not returned. I am in doubt, and so have done the best thing I know of. I am writing to my old friend and master, Professor Van Helsing of Amsterdam, who knows as much about obscure diseases as anyone in the world. I have asked him to come over, and as you told me that all things were to be at your charge, I have mentioned to him that I have mentioned to him who you are and your relations to Miss Westenra. This, my dear fellow, is in obedience with your wishes, for I am only too proud and happy to do anything I can for her. Van Helsing would, I know, do anything for me for a personal reason, so, no matter on what grounds he comes, we must accept his wishes. He is a seemingly arbitrary man, but this because he knows what he is talking about better than anyone else. He is a philosopher and a metaphysician, and one of the most advanced scientists of his day. And he has, I believe, an absolutely open mind. This, with an iron nerve, a temper of the ice brook, an indomitable resolution, self-command, and toleration exalted from virtues to blessings, and the kindliest and truest heart that beats. These form his equipment for the noble work that he is doing for mankind. Work both in theory and practice, for his views are as wide as his all-embracing sympathy. I tell you these facts that you may know why I have such confidence in him. I have asked him to come at once. I shall see Miss Westenra tomorrow again. She is to meet me at the shore so that I may not alarm her mother by too early a repetition of my call. Yours always, John Seward. I don't know, man. Maybe it's the times, but I wouldn't be, thrilled with that as the person being called for the health of my loved one. And that's as somebody who is leaning not only on proper medical science, my mom is in the ICU, but also on the work of the Reiki masters we're friends with to help heal my mom. But, like, those two are separate people. Anyways. Letter from Abraham Van Helsing, M.D., D.Ph., D.Lit., etc., to Dr. Seward. When you have so many initials after your name, titles after your name, you just write etc. 2nd September. What does a Norse accent sound like? Nordic, rather. My good friend, when I have received your letter, I am already coming to you. By good fortune, I can leave just at once, without wrong to any of those who have trusted me. Were fortune other, then it were bad for those who have trusted, for I come to my friend when he called to me to aid those he holds dear. Tell your friend that when that time you suck from my wound so swiftly the poison of the gangrene, from that knife that our other friend, too nervous, let slip, you did more for him than he wants my aids. When he wants my aids, and you call for them then all his great fortune could do. But it is great pleasure added to do for him, your friend. It is to you that I come. Have then rooms for me at the Great Eastern Hotel, so that I may be near to hand, and please to it so arrange that we may see the young lady not too late on tomorrow, for it is likely that I may have to return here that night. But if need be, I shall come again in 3 days, and stay longer if it must. Till then, goodbye, my friend John. Van Helsing. Letter from Dr. Seward to Arthur Holmwood. 3rd September. My dear Art, Van Helsing is come and gone. He came on with me to Hillingham, and found that, by Lucy's discretion, her mother was lunching out, so that we were alone with her. Van Helsing made a very cheerful examination of the patient. He is to report to me, and I shall advise you, for of course I was not present all the time. He is, I fear, much concerned, but says he must think. When I told him of our friendship and how you trust me in the matter, he said, "You must tell him all you think. Tell him what I think. If you can guess it, if you will. Nay, I am not jesting. This is no jest, but life and death. Perhaps more." I asked what he meant by that, for he was very serious. This was when we had come back to town, and he was having a cup of tea before starting on his return to Amsterdam. He would not give me any further clue. You must not be angry with me, Art, because his very reticence means that all his brains are working for her good. He will speak plainly enough when the time comes, be sure. So I told him I would simply write an account of our visit, just as if I were doing a descriptive special article for the Daily Telegraph. He seemed not to notice, but remarked that the smuts in London were not quite so bad as they used to be when he was a student here. Oh my. I wonder if that word has changed meaning. I am to get his report tomorrow if he can possibly make it. In any case, I am to have a letter. Well, as to the visit, Lucy was more cheerful than on the day I first saw her, and certainly looked better. She had lost something of the ghastly look that so upset you, and her breathing was normal. She was very sweet to the professor, as she always is, and tried to make him feel at ease, though I could see the poor girl was making a hard struggle for it. I believe Van Helsing saw it too, for I saw the quick look under his bushy brows that I knew of old. Then he began to chat of all things except ourselves and diseases, and with such an infinite geniality that I could see poor Lucy's pretense of animation merge into reality. Then, without any seeming change, he brought the conversation gently round to his visit, and suavely said, "My dear young miss, I have the so great pleasure because you are so much beloved. That is much, my dear. Ever were there that which I do not see. They told me you were down in the spirit, and that you were of a ghastly pale. To them I say, poof!" And then he snapped his fingers at me and went on. "But you and I shall show them how wrong they are. How can he," and he pointed at me with the same look and gesture as that with which he pointed me out in class, or on, or rather after, a particular occasion which he never fails to remind me of, "know anything of a young lady's? He has his madmen to play with, and to bring them back to happiness, and to those that love them." Yeah, except that wasn't the role of asylums at the time. Madmen, madmen. "It is much to do, and but there are rewards in that which we can bestow such happiness. But the young ladies. He has no wife nor daughter, and the young do not tell themselves to the young, but to the old like me, who have known so many sorrows and the causes of them. So, my dear, we will send him away to smoke the cigarette in the garden, whiles you and I have little talk all to ourselves." I took the hint and strolled about, and presently the professor came to the window and called me in. He looked grave, but said, "I have made careful examination, but there is no functional cause. With you I agree that there has been much blood lost. It has been, but is not. But the conditions of her are in no way anemic. I have asked her to send me her maid, that I may ask just one or two questions, that so I may not chance to miss nothing. I know well what she will say, and yet there is cause. There is always cause for everything. I must go back home and think. You must send to me the telegram every day, and if there be cause I shall come again. The disease, for not to be all well is a disease, interests me. And the sweet young dear, she interests me too. She charmed me, and for her, if not for you or disease, I come. As I tell you, he would not say a word more, even when we spoke alone. And so now, Art, you know all I know. I shall keep stern watch. I trust your poor father is rallying. It must be a terrible thing to you, my dear old fellow, to be placed in such a position between two people who are both so dear to you. I know your idea of duty to your father, and you are right to stick to it, but if need be, I shall send you word to come at once to Lucy. So do not be over anxious unless you hear from me." Alright. This is going to be a short one, and we will start back up with Dr. Seward's diary next time. Because the book is finally starting to get good. I mean, I actually enjoy reading it aloud more than I did, listening to it. Hopefully my tangents have allowed you guys to feel that same joy. If not, that's what comments are for. Tell me what you like and don't like, please. And I do know what people from Amsterdam sound like. I listen to... Well, no, I don't. The podcast I listen to is a Swedish guy speaking English, so his accent is probably different. Significantly different. Is it Swedish? I don't remember anymore. thanks for listening to my ramblings. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, review, all that jazz that makes podcasts get seen by other people. And that includes inflicting this upon the people you love. Please, share it. Word of mouth is great. If you would like to help support the podcast, all of those links are down in the bottom. Whether it just be subscribing to the Facebook page, which at current is really just me letting people know when the podcast is uploaded again. But if there was more interaction, I would do more. I don't got the spoons to do much else right now. Maneki just plopped herself in a box. Emails, all that jazz. Thank you so much again for listening to my rambles and my maybe less than awesome voice tonight. Thank you and good night.